My religious father said he'd disown me if I married my male fiancé, but I married him anyway. So he crashed our wedding. As revenge, I used his darkest secret against him. Part 2. I reached out to take his hand, my heart aching with the weight of his hurt. I love you, Alex. We can get through this. We have to. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. I love you too, but we need to find a way to deal with this together. Otherwise, it will eat away at us. The days that followed were a struggle. We tried to enjoy our honeymoon, but the tension lingered. We talked about my father, about how his actions had affected us, and about our future. It wasn't easy, but we made a pact to support each other no matter what. Returning home, we sought the help of a couples therapist. It was a difficult process confronting the pain and resentment that had built up. But slowly, we began to heal. We learned to communicate better, to lean on each other, and to rebuild the trust that had been shaken. My relationship with my father remained strained. Somehow and for some reason unknown to me, he reached out a few times, with one of the times his message letting me know he has full intention of making our marriage miserable because no son of his will be an F-slur. This fully stung. Having my own father call me that hurt more than I can explain. But Alex and I tried to ignore it. As we continued to build our life together, we simply couldn't. The shadow of what my father could do lingered. Over time, my father started sending hateful messages to both of us, and despite both of us blocking him, he'd make new accounts. Messages ranging from asking me if I'm over what he said yet to messages telling us that he will never let us live peacefully for what we have done to him. It really got too much when he sent me a picture of two unclothed girls getting it on, asking me if seeing app was really more attractive than this. That evening, we sat at our kitchen table discussing our future plans. Alex told me he desperately wishes things could be better with my father. I nodded, understanding his pain. I know, and I'm tired of him too, I said. I think it's time I confront him again, but this time I won't back down. Alex's eyes widened. What are you planning? I'm going to make him understand that he can't control us or harass us anymore. And if he refuses, I have something that might make him reconsider. He looked at me. What do you mean? I took a deep breath. When I was younger, I found out that he worked as an adult entertainment worker in his 20s. He did it to make ends meet, and I've always respected him for doing what he had to do. But if he's going to continue to torment us, I'm not above using that information to make him stop. Alex's eyes widened with shock. Are you sure that's the right thing to do? It's not about whether it's right or wrong, I said firmly. It's about protecting our happiness. If he refuses to change his ways, I'll have no choice but to make sure he leaves us alone. Alex looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. If you think this will help, I support you. Just be careful. The next day, I called my father and asked to meet. He hesitated, but actually agreed because I convinced him I was on board with what he had been saying about my marriage. We met at a small cafe, a neutral ground where emotions might be easier to manage. He looked at me with a mixture of apprehension and defiance. Are you actually agreeing with me? No, Dad. But I'm not here to fight, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I'm here to make peace, but you need to understand that this is your last chance. Alex and I deserve happiness and I won't let you ruin that. His eyes narrowed. So you lied to me and now you're threatening me? I'm giving you a choice, I replied. Either you accept our relationship and leave us alone, or I'll tell the church about your past. His face drained of color. You wouldn't dare. I don't want to, I said softly. But I will if I have to. This is about protecting my marriage. I love Alex, and I won't let anyone come between us. Not even you. He stared at me, his eyes filling with tears. You've changed. No, I said, shaking my head. I've just finally realized what's important. I want a relationship with you, but not at the cost of my happiness. It's your choice. He looked down, silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed. I'll leave you alone. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Thank you. And I hope someday we can find a way to rebuild our relationship. I'll think about it, he said quietly. A few months later, Alex and I received a letter in the mail. It was from my father, written in handwriting. We sat together on the couch, reading it aloud. Dear Jake and Alex, I'm writing this letter because I've had a lot of time to think about our last conversation. I realize now that I've let my fear and my beliefs come between us. I never intended to hurt you, but I see now that I have. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused and for the way I've treated both of you. I've always wanted what's best for you, but I understand now that I was wrong in how I went about it. I promise to leave you both alone and to respect your relationship. I hope that in time, we can find a way to rebuild our relationship. You're my son and I love you, even if I haven't shown it in the right way. With love, Dad. Tears welled up in my eyes as I finished reading. Alex hugged me tightly. Both of us were moved by his words. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start. Over the next few months, my father and I exchanged letters, slowly mending the rift between us. He took small steps to show his support, sending cards on special occasions and even reaching out to Alex with a heartfelt apology. Our relationship was still fragile, but it was healing. My father's willingness to change and his genuine efforts to make amends gave me hope for the future. One sunny afternoon, about a year after that difficult conversation with my father, we decided to invite him over for dinner. It was the first time he would be visiting our home since the wedding, and I was nervous but hopeful. He arrived with a bouquet of flowers and a timid smile. Thank you for inviting me, he said, his voice soft. Thank you for coming, I replied, leading him inside. The evening was filled with shaky conversation and cautious smiles, but there was also a sense of progress. Alex and my father spoke about their shared interests, finding common ground in unexpected places. By the end of the night, there was a sense of tentative hope. A belief that things could indeed get better. As we said our goodbyes, my father hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "And I'm sorry for everything." Tears filled my eyes as I hugged him back. "Thank you, Dad. I love you." He turned to Alex, offering him a sincere smile. "Thank you for loving my son and for giving me another chance." Alex nodded, his eyes glistening. "We're family. We'll get through this together." That night, as Alex and I lay in bed, I felt a deep sense of peace. We had faced so many challenges, but we had come out stronger, our love unwavering. The future was bright, filled with the promise of happiness and the knowledge that we could overcome anything together.